everyone. My name's Wendy Trevathan, and welcome to my podcast called Your Nurse Voice Matters. And I've got the beautiful Christine Boucher with me today. How are you, Christine?
Good, thanks, Wendy. I'm excited to be here chatting with you and our fellow nursing crew.
Yes, so I first met Christine a few years ago now when we were doing our wellness coaching um, certifications together. So we've known each other for a while now, but let me formally introduce you to Christine. So Christine has spent over 20 years working in the healthcare industry as a registered nurse, specialising in cardio-thoracic intensive care, travelling internationally, working in England, France, and the United States. Transitioning from nurse to health coach, she is the CEO of her company Wellness Worx, working with government organisations, small and medium businesses, designing and delivering their strategic 12-month health and wellbeing plans. Facilitating a fleet of wellness workshop and coaching individuals and leadership teams to build strong team dynamics, optimally performing individual and healthy organisational cultures. Christine resides by the beautiful lakes in East Gippsland and describes herself as an engaged and empathetic relationship builder. I can testify to that. She holds a Bachelor of Nursing Degree, a Diploma in Critical Care Nursing, Diploma of Bowen Therapy, Level 3 Health and Wellness Coaching, and a Master's in Business Administration. Christine believes that workplaces are the new frontier of the healthcare industry, and early intervention, working proactively, implementing strategic wellness plans that can disrupt and ultimately change the trajectory of people's health journey, keeping them out of hospital and contributing to their workplace, community, and the economy. She is on a mission, 100%. I've seen that over the last few years, to see all workplaces implement a standard wellness position to care for their utmost valuable asset, their people. I'm so behind that, Christine. What a wonderful bio. And I can hold testament that you've been doing some big guns there.
Yeah, absolutely. And you just remind me, I completely forgot that we met all those years ago when we were doing our health coach training. That's funny, isn't it?
Yeah, it comes around in circles,
That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
So what I've been asking, obviously your experience is there on the boards, but let's reflect back to when, you're thinking about nursing. What actually was the catalyst for you to become a nurse?
Oh, I remember when I was about 7 years old, I was getting my tonsils out, and this nurse, she was very stark and stoic with her crisp white uniform, the hat and the belt way back when. And she came in and with her clipboard and she was ordering me about and telling me what to do. And I just idolized this nurse. And I said to myself in that very moment, I said, I want to be just like her. I want to be a nurse. I want to be going in and bossing people around and be. So, yeah, I remember from a very young age being completely inspired and enthralled with this position of nursing. And I took all the subjects towards qualifying to become a nurse and then remained, and I still am currently a registered nurse, but remained in the healthcare sector in hospitals for, approximately 20 years, and now 10 years transition into my own company, Wellness Worx.
Nice. That's awesome. And during those, years as a ward nurse, what were some of the key memories that you have? That from your own experience, I know you've got a deep pool there, but
Yeah.
share with us a story or two.
I really love the fast pace of working in emergency, and I also love the technical component of working in intensive care. I guess one funny story that comes to mind. I traveled a lot. I traveled all around the globe with my nursing, and I had the ability to work in so many different countries. And I was employed in Scotland, in Edinburgh, in this 17th century castle, the Royal Infirmary. And I was working I was doing a night shift. I think I was working in a high dependency unit. And I'd heard all these stories from the Scottish nurses that it was haunted. And I happened to be on my own on the night shift. My colleagues had gone off for a break, and I was walking around checking on my patients with a torch, and I just felt this sense of someone around me. I felt this breath on my neck, and I keep walking around this sort of spooky old hospital, and I turned around, and one of the little old patients had climbed out of their bed and were just following me and were right behind me. It gave me the fright of my life. But, you know, I've had so many amazing experiences in the 20 years that I've been nursing. And as I said, it's taken me working in America, working in France, working in the UK and Scotland, and all around Australia. And I think that's a real benefit and value of our profession. It's transferable in so many different countries. So it's a great place. It's a great profession to have these great adventures with.
Definitely. And there's a lot of countries, like Australia has an affiliate with some countries around the world. And you know, just to enter a country, you may need to sit an exam or two, but gee whiz, isn't that worth it that you can then go and work in those countries, learn the different cultures, and, you know, really become entrenched in living in that, like just the culture of, I've been to Scotland, I've walked the Royal Mile and stayed there myself. So I can imagine being in that kind of a building and having that experience. I can align it to when I was doing mental health placement during my student nurse training at a place called Mayday Hills in Beechworth. And that was scary. That was really,
Yes.
a very similar kind of situation and feelings. So after your 20 years in acute nursing, what happened then? What inspired you to look outside the boundaries of the acute care setting? And I know that you're still working, you're dipping your toe back in there, but what kind of thought process went on that you wanted to broaden your horizons?
I remember very clearly the day I was becoming very frustrated and a little bit complacent with my nursing profession at that point about 10 years ago. And I remember one day I was walking up the corridor of this hospital, and I was literally dragging my feet and saying and thinking to myself, you know, there has to be a better way. There has to be a better way to get in front of people before they get sick, to be more proactive and preemptive and change that trajectory of their health journey so that they don't end up in hospital. You know, it was common knowledge, and we talk amongst our colleagues, we're seeing the same patients come in again and again and again with exacerbation of their diseases, and we're sending them home to their same lifestyle, which was just continuing on that journey. And that's when I sort of started like, what can I do? How can I work with people to prevent them from going to hospital? How can I work independently running my own business as a nurse? And that's where I started my research and investigation, and then came across health coaching, which just for me was the perfect fit, because then I could work with people, I could run my own business, I could help keep people out of hospital and really take the pressure off the system, and ultimately change that trajectory of people's health journey so that they weren't laying in bed in a hospital sick, but they were continuing to contribute to the workplace, to their family, to society, to economy. So for me, it was just like an aha moment. It made complete sense. So it wasn't an easy transition initially, because I started a business and I'm like, here's my website, this is who I am, and expecting people to ring my phone and knock on my door, which didn't happen. So then that's where I had to really learn the business acumen, where I started to do my master's in business administration to learn the whole business. I knew how to help people, but I didn't understand the whole business side of things. So that's where I started that.
It's a different mindset, isn't it? So
Mm.
going from, you know, working for the government to actually being the CEO of your own plan and doing everything to support your business and your business plan and strategy and you know, different systems and processes, and working out what's working and working out what's not working too. Definitely. And like we both did the wellness coaching way back when. Wonderful organisation that does their certificate and some business training as well. And I actually saw, you know, the wellness coaching aspect, like you, as bridging that gap, like going backwards before people presented at emergency department to provide that self-directed care where people can actually own what, you know, preempt and own what was happening with them. What a wonderful, you know, way to prevent people from coming into emergency departments. And
Yeah,
yeah,
100%. I mean, emergency hospital, of course, we need it, has a lot of validity for illness and injury, etc. But as we know as nurses, there's so many preventable diseases, and there's so much we can do in altering our lifestyle or modifying our lifestyle so that we don't get obese, chronic disease, stroke, heart attack, type 2 diabetes, etc. Working as a health coach and supporting people with their well-being pre-hospitalization so that they don't go to hospital, for me was like, oh, this is where I'm supposed to be.
mm. Wonderful. And tell me, how did you go about doing that? You said it was a little bit of a struggle at the beginning. You know,
Mm.
talk us through the first couple of years of that transition for you. Yeah.
I think in my first 6 months, I was working in the one-on-one model where I was, trying to find clients and bring clients in, and it simply just wasn't paying adequately that I could survive. And in the first 6 months, I continued to look at nursing jobs. I could just go back to a government job. I could just have a regular, consistent income. That'll be easy. But no, I needed to persist. So the first thing I did was employ a business coach, and that really changed and altered the way that I moved forward because I was working with someone that was already, 10 steps ahead. They were a guiding light to support me in doing all the things I needed to do. And I really learned pretty quickly that I needed more business acumen. I needed to be the CEO of my business, learn systems, processes, marketing, sales, how to have a sales conversation, leadership, how to be the leader, how to have develop all the products and services within my business. So there was a huge gap that I didn't have around business acumen that I fulfilled with my MBA. Once I got the knowledge, then that really helped to expedite the process. But then I transitioned pretty quick from the one-on-one model to the one-to-many model. So instead of trying to find these one clients, my business coach, he suggested to me, hey, Chris, why don't you work within organizations and work with groups of people? But of course, my imposter syndrome jumped in and said, you can't do that. You've never worked in corporate. Who do you think you are, sort of thing. And he said to me, look, you've got the knowledge, you know how to help people. They're just people, they're just groups of people. But working with groups of people really transitioned and elevated my business because it's increasing my impact. I can work with a heap more people and leveraging my income. So instead of trying to find that one person that may pay me $100 an hour, now I charge about $1,500 an hour working in organizations. So, it made good financial and business sense.
Mm. And would you say that the 20 years of experience like added to that credibility to be able to make that switch so that you did have the runs on the board there within a healthcare sort of setting to be able to stand up in front of that group and speak with confidence, combat that imposter syndrome and pull on those gold nuggets that you had to be able to answer those quick questions that you do get in a group environment?
Yeah, 100%. So I run wellness workshops or group facilitation, and as part of my introduction, I will communicate about my 20 years in the healthcare sector, about my specializations, and that's immediate social proofing for your audience. They're like, yeah, she's got some experience, she's got some knowledge. We should listen. Maybe she knows a thing or two. So absolutely gives you that credibility and that trust factor because working with large groups of people, working within organizations, it's really about relationships and building the trust and rapport for them to want to hire you to bring you into their organization. So it definitely helps.
Mm. And do you only work within healthcare settings, or what are some of the other more unusual sort of settings that you've worked with? Because I know
Yeah.
you did some you did some emergent work in East Gippsland. So talk us through a little bit what you did there.
So I work in all sorts of organisations. Essentially, I've worked in the agricultural sector, I've worked in the education sector, I've worked in the healthcare sector, I've worked in public and private sector. So I've worked with an array or a variety of organisations. And essentially, at the end of the day, people are people, but it's understanding your audience. It's understanding. So when I go into an organisation, it's for no less than 12 months. I'll go in and I'll do a needs analysis where I'll collate and look at, what's the data, what are the main challenges, what are the needs. So just like when you go to the doctor, they do a head-to-toe assessment. What's the problem? And identify what the problem is. And once I get a diagnosis, so to speak, then I can medicate with my services. And my services, it's not an overnight fix. It's generally over a minimum of 6 months. I generally like to work at least 12 months. And in that way, it's a real transformational change. It's not a transactional tick the box approach. It's like, I fully understand your diagnosis, your problem, and this is the medication through wellness education, workshops, through one-on-one or group coaching, through all the services that I provide. And then at the end, I will collect data again so I can show a comparative analysis pre and post delivery to demonstrate what we have achieved, the outcomes, the benefits, and the results that we have gained. Now, having said that, not everything is fixed and dandy in an organisation after 12 months. There might be new challenges and things that arise. So then I will put in my recommendations of what needs to be done over the following year. And that's a really good business model because it's sustainable for my business. I have ongoing clients. Some clients I've been working with for as long as 10 years. It's good for them. They get to know me, and it's good for my business because I just, can keep generating income and clientele, which is beneficial.
Nice. So for the nurses that are listening out there and they're going, oh my goodness, I really want to do this, what would be your key words of advice for them?
If they really want to start their own business.
Yes, if they wanted to move into this preventative coaching wellness space.
I think, the best advice I could give would be to work with someone that's been there and done that, that is 10 steps ahead, that has the pathway that they can show you the way. Because there is a lot to know when you're first starting out in business, and what you don't know, you don't know. So if you can learn from someone that's got the experience, that's got the know-how, that's a mentor and a guiding light for you, it really helps to expedite the process. Do your research, do your homework, figure out, is this the pathway I really want to take? When I made that transition, I did take a bit of time. I probably took, maybe 6 months or so just to make the decision. Is this what I want to do? And, and building that confidence to step out of nursing essentially and step into that preventative healthcare and running my own business was a huge decision. So I wanted to make an educated and decision that because once you make the decision, I mean, you can go back to the nursing. There's always plenty of work around. But for me, it was like there was no turning back. I wanted to make the decision and then keep moving forward.
Then move forward, keep the momentum going.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. So if any of our listeners, and I'll put this in the YouTube follow up with this and the podcast brief, if they're wanting to make contact with you, what's the best method?
Yeah, just connect with me on my website. You can book in for a coffee and chat. So my website's www.wellnessworx, spelt worx.com.au. And yeah, jump on my socials, connect with me, book in for a coffee and chat if you want to, talk about what your career goals are, perhaps starting your own wellness business. I'm always happy to connect with like-minded nurses.
Beautiful. And any last words, tips for our nurses listening?
I think, we know that burnout is a big issue in the nursing world. It's up to 70% of nurses are experiencing lethargy and burnout, and it's really problematic. And so I think the biggest key message I can give is about self-care. It's about putting your own oxygen mask on before you're helping everyone else, as we do in that profession. It's all about helping people, but we're no good to anyone else if we're no good. So it's about self-care. So for your listeners, I'll pop in a link where you can do your own burnout survey assessment to see if that is a problem for you, and it gives you some tips, tools and strategies on how to manage, mitigate and avoid burnout.
Beautiful. That's be a really good resource for somebody who's excuse me, asking the question, is that actually a reality for me? Where am I sitting? Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much, Christine, for joining us today on the podcast, and I hope you've enjoyed the experience.
Yeah,
And
thanks, Wendy. It's been great. It's always great chatting with you.
yeah, beautiful. All right, guys, we look forward to delivering the next episode of Your Nurse Voice Matters, and we'll sign off for today. Thanks, Christine.
Stay healthy.